Hello and welcome to Nasarawa Focus, reaching you here from the Government House in Lafia. I am Maria Olasheinde. Once considered in the past as a glorified local government, Nasarawa has rapidly grown into a modern state that now offers standard essentials and a sophisticated edifice that can attract investors. Our focus on this episode will be on economic developments in Nasarawa State under Governor Tanko Almakura in the last 7 years. In almost 8 years, the road to recovery and creating a viable Nasarawa state under the Governor Tanko Almakura-led administration is said to be undeniable, where development is more than a word and prosperity is more than a wish. One way the architect of modern Nasarawa has been able to surpass expectations is by ensuring that leadership actions match collective aspirations to grow as a state, thrive as a people, and succeed as individuals. Under his watch, health facilities, schools, roads, and other basic social amenities became more functional, improving the living standard of both those in the rural and urban areas. The long-awaited Lafia Cargo Airport is now at an advanced stage, and with laying of asphalt on the runways, all that is really left is the construction of the terminal building, setting up the control tower, and putting all other necessary aviation facilities in place. The proposed airport seeks to unlock the potentials that lie in the state to attract investment and reduce the burden at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, being the closest to the Federal Capital Territory, which would give the Lafia Airport a great advantage.
All the contractors that are connected with the airport project and the assurances we are getting from all of them is really heartwarming that our focus, our vision, our expectation to complete this project before the end of my tenure is certain. In fact, the main contractor is saying we can have this airport ready by March, God willing. That will be about 2 months before I leave office. And while we are even here, you can see that the main infrastructural work on the airport is almost completed. They're just about doing the asphalting of the runway. That is why we decided to discuss about the landing aviation equipment, meteorological communication equipment that will be important for the airport to operate. We have since awarded the contract, and the main contractor is here, Satel, and he has tremendous amount of experience in airport communication and landing and meteorological services, and we have no doubt whatsoever that this airport will be one of the best in the country when it's completed. Already we have the people doing the terminal building and those that are building the tower. We have been able to locate the exact positions where these outfits are going to be. This is to make time to ensure that all the projects, all the aspects of the projects are embarked upon simultaneously, so that we'll be able to meet the March deadline. So I want to assure you and all Nasarawa State citizens that by the special grace of God, by 29th of May next year, this airport will be ready for operation. As far as we are concerned, by the time we are done with this airport, it will become an infrastructural development for, not for Nasarawa State, but for the federal government as well. And like all projects that have this national status, its administration and control will be by the constitutional authority earmarked for the administration and control of such airports. So the issue about concessioning is not in the cards. It's all left to the Nigerian Airport Authorities, the NCA, and all other sister agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of managing and ensuring effective and efficient air services to determine. We hope, most probably, this being the closest airport to the federal capital, could be considered as the alternative airport to Abuja. And in that way, we are likely to benefit from maybe federal might that might probably want this to be an alternative airport to the federal capital in case of emergencies, in case of security and what have you.
Road infrastructure has greatly improved in recent years, connecting communities with opportunities to boost economic growth.
As far as I'm concerned, this is one of the most challenging projects I've ever embarked upon. Not necessarily because of the distance, which is about 65 kilometers from Lafia to Kefi, but because of the impossibility of the terrain. You could see as we have traveled all the way, it has so many undulations, so many topography that are so difficult and so hard to accomplish. Rocks, streams, while we have to construct over 30 culverts, most of which are 3-cell culverts, and that's almost a bridge. Then we have 3 big bridges, one about 90 meters, one taking about 120 meters, and this one behind us, which is about 150 meters. So you can imagine the difficulties and the challenges that the construction of this legacy road project entails. But I'm very happy that we have the right contractors on the job. Tractor is doing wonderfully well. It's just about a year they commenced work here, and you can see the amount of progress so far made. So I'm very, very confident with the tempo and preponderance of equipment they have put and the manpower they are deploying to ensure this work is done. We should be able to be through with this job. Project will add not only to Nasarawa State but even the federal capital, is that it will be the easy access to the airport, because you find that the road is started from Kwandare, where the cargo airport is. So for people who are likely to use the airport, this road will come handy by ensuring easy access to the airport, which will make it easy airport for people even within the federal capital. Imagine somebody living in Nyanya or Karu or even AYA. If he takes on this road, once he's in Kefi, it takes him only 40 minutes to be in the Lafia airport. So this is another added advantage that this project will bring to bear on the people of Nasarawa State and those within the corridor of the Federal Capital Territory.
In recent years, more than 40 road projects have been embarked upon by Governor Almakura. Still to come, how Nasarawa State Governor Umaru Tanko Almakura has improved internally generated revenue and is creating affordable housing in the solid mineral states. Among the 3 basic amenities necessary for anyone to survive in life, many say clothing and food amounts to little or nothing without housing. Today, cities continue to undergo exponential population growth, accompanied by rapid development pressure, with high demand for housing and infrastructure in an already strained environment. Men say Governor Tanko Almakura is called the architect of modern Nasarawa for a reason, and that is because of his developmental strides in the area of housing.
If you look, there is an explosion in the middle class. That is the class that is daily growing faster than the higher class, the high middle class and the lowest class. And you would have to think ahead of how to contain this explosion. And one of the most critical issues is that of shelter. Because once people attain certain status, their mode of living changes. So as government, we would have to provide that. That we did by, first of all, taking a look at our civil servants. The housing units that have been abandoned for years, we have been able to complete them and offer the 500 units to civil servants, and they're all happy about that. Secondly, we are collaborating with the Federal Ministry of Housing, where we have developed housing units in different local governments, like Lafia, like in Karu, like in Angware. We are building more than 200, sorry, the federal government is building 200 or about 200 housing units here at the vicinity of Lafia. And the Federal Housing Authority also has embarked on mass housing within the Kwandare axis. We are doing that by supporting the federal government by providing land and to a large extent infrastructure to allow for them to support our citizens. Besides that, my state has also embarked on the unbundling of the land resources that is in Nasarawa State Corridor with the federal capital. That is the Gurku, Kabusu, 13,000 hectares. You can imagine 13,000 hectares is about 5 times the size of Gwarimpa. That is the opportunity we are giving to all Nigerians to own a home for themselves by doing all the necessary engineering works and plans for people who are intending to stay within the corridor of the federal capital to own the house, because what we have now in the federal capital territory is a choked land. And people who would want to live within the federal capital territory might either have to be shuttling between satellite towns and the federal capital territory, or buy a small piece of land at very exorbitant price. So our contribution towards housing for all and salvaging the congestion within the federal capital is to provide this 13,000 hectares that has been planned to accommodate all categories of people, higher middle class, the middle class, and the lower class, so that every citizen that has the opportunity or the wherewithal to own a home can acquire the land at very affordable price to the people for their accommodation. So this is what the state is doing to ensure that we support the federal government and also support our citizens to own a house of their own.
Residents across the state attest to the fact that Nasarawa State under Governor Almakura has been an unfolding story of visionary leadership, inclusive governance, and a quest to deliver the dividends of democracy. one person at a time.
Well, the last 8 years has been an eye-opener if you look at the antecedents before he came into office. But in terms of infrastructure, he has blazed the trail. The person coming after him will have big shoes. He has a challenge because Al-Makura, in terms of roads, in terms of markets, in terms of key infrastructure, the airport is ongoing, and these are things that are legacies that he will forever be remembered for bringing to the state. Now, there are other areas, there are gaps. The concept of governance, the concept of development is continuous. The person coming in would only have to continue from where he stops within the next few months. He has left in the state. But I think he has blazed the trail. Yeah, you cannot take that away from him.
Al-Makura, he did well in infrastructure, putting all things together. Looking at the back, the former governors that have ruled in the state, they have really done well, but not okay to what we expected them to do. Because I didn't think they did what this man come in power to do by now. I think we will have gone a long way. But really, they set the whole thing backward in infrastructure, in doing what is needful for them to do. But Al-Makura has come taking the bull on the head, linking roads to roads in streets, trying to make sure that connecting the local government to the town where foods will be coming in. And he has done well in schools, actually trying to see that primary schools, new structures are being raised, and the children are really getting good and quality education. Really, he has done well. He has done well in infrastructure. He has done well in the security, trying to make sure he built a very good and befitting structure for them that is befits them as a security. Trying the police, the civil defense, so just name them. All he has done it.
The man has really done well. He has done a yeoman's job, given the shortfall in resources accruing to the state, like we have all noticed across the nation. So he has done so much, and me as an accountant myself, somebody that understands the cost of procurement, of doing certain things, he has done a lot. There is an ongoing airport that is nearing completion. There is the one that really amuses me most is the conception of the idea of a road that leads Lafayette to Abuja, which can take you less than an hour, unlike the usual 2 hours, 30 minutes, 3 hours you do. So, he's a kind of a maybe governor that really thinks far ahead of what his contemporaries have been doing in Nigeria. And so, a lot has been done. So I don't know if you want me to go into bits of it.
For his good works, the governor backed North Central Service Award honors in recognition of his service and far-reaching contributions in bettering the lives of people in the state and in the North Central Zone at large. At a time when most states of the Federation remain largely dependent on federal allocation from Abuja, Nasarawa State is growing to become prosperous and self-sufficient. While many call him the architect of modern Nasarawa, others say he's the man who governed with the skill of a teacher, the truth of a broadcaster, and the commitment of a businessman. I asked Governor Tanko Al-Makura how he has been able to effectively run the state, going by the need to meet the ever-growing demands of the governance for the people.
Our story about internally generated revenue is a very exciting one. Even though we find ourselves close to the Federal Capital Territory, and Nasarawa State was amongst the states that had the least revenue internally. In spite of the fact that we are sitting on gold mine by virtue of being near the Federal Capital Territory. So when I came on board, I had to review the entire system and discovered that the 150 we were getting as internally generated revenue, 150 million per month. Since the state was created, it had never gone beyond that. I felt something must be done. One, we must relate with certain federal agencies to ensure that pay by people who reside in Nasarawa State and work in the federal capital pay their taxes. To also ensure certain land issues that are very lucrative are also being tailored into our tax system. So quickly we have to review our land administration, where we computerize our land system, so much so that you don't have any difference between the system of administration of land in Nasarawa as compared to that of the federal capital. Okay. That has brought so much prosperity to Nasarawa. And in conjunction with other federal agencies, we were able to tap those taxes that were stopped due to lack of initiative by the previous administration, to the extent that now Nasarawa State is moving from 150 per month to about 600 to 700 million per month.
With the Nigerian Senate as the next point of call, Governor Tanko Almakura is leaving behind a well-structured economic apparatus, laying a solid foundation for the future development of Nasarawa State. That's our package for this week. Do join us again next week for another interesting episode. Thanks for watching. I am Maria Olasheinde.